Hi everyone, my name is Rolf Congo and I've been inspired to do this video. Look at the screen here in front of you, I left it there purposely. Pessimism on the increase, doubts about children's future, and concerns about war weighs heavily. But what we really want to look at is right over here. And among those who believe that the nation is headed in the wrong track, a whopping 81% believe it's part of a longer-term decline and that things won't get better for some time. Just 12% think the problems are short-term blips. All I can say to that is, wow. Okay, so we know now that 81% of you don't believe anymore. We can also say, quite honestly, that the majority of you don't believe anymore because of the economy. We also know from everything that we can see that millions of you, I don't know how many, but millions of you are looking for jobs. And if you find one, then there's hundreds of other people competing you for that job. And you know that the jobs don't exist so easily anymore, and you're still desperately looking for jobs. Well, I'll tell you what. I've worked for the last 30 years in economic development and in business development for the Aboriginal communities of Canada, First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. And most of these communities have from 60 to 90% unemployment. They've been living what you guys are beginning to see already for many, many years. And yes, there is a solution. If you're willing to listen to the next 10 minutes of this video, I'm going to tell you why you cannot find a job. And I am going to tell you how you can turn that around and you can really start to feel a completely new world opening in front of you, and that the opportunities are endless because, folks, they are. We have never had more opportunities than ever in this world, but we need to change our thinking and we need to focus differently. So if you've been looking for the job, listen to the next 10 minutes. It may very well be worth your time. It is 30 years of my experience. I finally have figured it out. And do you know what made me figure it out? You'll laugh. An NBC broadcast with Brian Williams, where they were showing that 65% of the American people no longer believe in the future and no longer believe in their government. And I went, wow. And we know, and we can see that America is on a decline. So anyway, here we are. 65% of us are in decline. And I start to go back to all the experiences I've had with the First Nations people, with the Métis and the Inuit, and finally it clicked on me. It's no different for them than it is for you, than it is for all Americans who are going towards that. In fact, I would say this afflicts 95% of Americans because it afflicted me too. And you know what it is? You're scared of money. Literally inside of you, internally, you are afraid of money, because that's what I finally figured out with all the First Nations people that I've worked with, all the Aboriginal Native people. They are afraid of money. They have been conditioned into that fear. They've been conditioned that there's not enough. They've been conditioned that they don't get it. How many of you out there right now are saying, I am broke, full of debt? Nothing is happening for me. I have been trying and trying and trying, and I don't seem to be able to get through. I'm looking for a job. And there's hundreds of other people looking for a job. Some of you have been looking for jobs for 2 years. Okay, so let me give you an example. If you say, I am broke, do you know how powerful that is? Do you know that I've never been broke a single day of my life? Not a single day. Do you know why? Because I don't say I'm broke. I say I'm temporarily short of cash. Can you see the difference? Means there's plenty more where that came from. But when you say I am broke, when you say I am in debt, when you say all of these I ams, and you're in there, of course, you're broke in your debt, and add yourself to the other 95%. You start to blame. Not my fault, government's fault. Choose anybody to blame. It doesn't make any difference. Are any of you into that famous virus called blamicitis? So you're into the famous virus called blamicitis. Let me tell you, as long as you're blaming everybody else, and you may rightfully have a reason for blaming them, you're going to stay exactly where you are, whether you like it or not. Because, hey, it's not your fault. It's their fault. So if it's not your fault, what do you have to do about it? Nothing. No, it is that direct. And then you go into the complaining. You complain about the government. You complain about... And then, of course, you get into the great next virus called excusing. So you go into excuse-itis. You find out all kinds of excuses. That was in me too. Why it took me a while to get rid of, but I did. You can see how excited I get about it. If you can get rid of these, I call them viruses. I've even written an ebook on the viruses. So these literally are viruses. You start to come up with excuses. Huh? Who's the guy who wrote the book, Excuses Be Gone, Dr. Wayne Dyer? Go out and buy it. Okay, excuses is when again, just like blamicitis and complainicitis, we're not into it. And then when it gets really, really bad, then you're all sitting in denial. Denial-itis. You're just going, well, what problem? Yeah, you just live with it. And then finally, when you've been beaten to death with all this stuff, you end up in apathitis. You don't give a shit anymore. There's a lot of you running around and walking around not giving a damn, but saying, why me? I've done that. That's what I saw in that dream last night. I saw why the decline of America, why the decline of everything that's happening. We don't believe in it anymore. We have lost the entire process of belief. Now, here is a great one. I get an email yesterday, right after the dream, and no kidding, this is the email.
Okay, here.
So give
this
me a
is
second.
by an anonymous author,
And it says, "The man who thinks he can." That's the title. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it is almost certain you won't. If you think you lose, you're lost. For out in the world we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. If you think, you've got to think high to rise. I'll write it on this thing. Okay. Where am I? Okay, you've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but soon or late, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. Now, no kidding. I got this the day after my dream. America, all of you, America's going to pot because you are no longer the man or the woman who thinks he or she can. Stop blaming the world and stop complaining about it. Never been greater today. There is so many things that you can potentially do, but stop looking for jobs. Jobs are dying. We are moving into an entrepreneurial world. I predict in another 10 years, there'll be no more jobs.
Everybody will be in business for themselves, because the people who are in business are the saviors of the world, the creators, the ones who are thinking, who are trying, who are the man or woman who thinks he can. Don't look for the job. Say to yourself, what skill have I got? What can I do? And how can I move that skill into my life? And this is what I teach people now. I teach people how they can take even the smallest skill and make it happen. We're in a new world now. It's no longer America. We live in a global community. All of you who are listening to me now are listening to me in a medium where you could be listening to me in the Arctic, or you could be listening to me in Seoul, Korea. Get it into your heads. We don't live in a world of just America. Now we live in a global world. This is not America leads. Go for it, you can. Each and every one of us can make it. And I believe it. So there you go. I vented, but I forgot. I said my piece. If we have been conditioned into being afraid of money, being afraid of abundance, and we have been conditioned from the time that we were born. My parents told me many things which stuck in my mind for a long time. You're a blue-collar kid. It's just as far as you go. Don't expect too much. You're going to be disappointed, and we can keep going on and on. So we've been conditioned. We've been conditioned by our families. We've been conditioned by our school. We've been conditioned by all of our churches who've kind of put in there that money's not such a good thing. And we have been conditioned by society at large. There are those who have and those who don't, and so on. Well, how do we do that? How can we break that? By starting to condition ourselves. And the first conditioning, and I'm giving it to you right now, the first thing that you need to know is you need to know you're conditioned. You have to be aware. Nothing happens before awareness. Once you're aware, you'll start to take the steps to move away from that and move towards abundance, and to move towards prosperity, and to move towards being the best that you can be. That's all it really is. We want to be the best that we can be.